all you crazy gamers out there, welcome to the newest episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. Of course, I'm your host, as always, Chris Arnone, The Bearded Gamer. All right, so first up we got an oldie but a goodie with good news, bad news. Now first up is some straight up news. I think I'm leaning toward good on this one, but I'm still, jury's still out, shall we say. Now, Chronicle director Josh Trank has been announced. It's been announced he has signed on to direct a movie version of Shadow of the Colossus. Now, of course, I'm a little lukewarm on this because traditionally, movie interpretations of video games have not usually turned out very well. So I gotta worry. Yeah, he proved his chops on Chronicle. It turned out to be a really cool movie, but I still gotta worry. And now, there's some cool things here. Of course, he was paired up with a good writer on Chronicle as well. But of course, if you played Shadow of the Colossus, you realize there's not a lot of dialogue. You don't need a lot of dialogue. Really, the story is told through some just dramatic imagery. And so if you consider that, and maybe they try to take that same minimalist approach with the film, then you've got a good director. This could be a really stellar project. Now, he's also working on like a Venom movie, and he's tied to developing a new Fantastic Four project. So, he's definitely got sort of the nerd chops to go along with all this, but fingers crossed this turns out to be something really, really cool. So, some definite good news. See the shirt I wore? Can you guess what it is? They've announced a Street Fighter 25th Anniversary Box Edition. Wow, just revel over that for a moment. Okay, I'm going to list off everything that's in this. There's a lot of stuff. Okay, it's got Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Online Edition, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, and Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And those last two, of course, include all the alternate costumes and whatnot that have been made available through DLC. It's also going to have an 11-disc soundtrack, 2-disc Blu-ray documentary, both of the Street Fighter 4 anime movies, the entirety of the animated series, and the Street Fighter 2 animated movie. Oh, I'm not done. Has a 64-page hardcover art book, a light-up Ryu statue, a replica of Ryu's belt, a certificate of authenticity, all for $150. Holy crap. I'm a huge Street Fighter fan, and I'm just kind of, I had to like wipe my mouth and change my pants after I read about this thing. Very exciting stuff, and I tell you what, I would have expected a much higher price point for just the amount of stuff that this is going to come with. It's going to be brilliant, okay? So, next up we got some bad news, and I was just talking about this recently over on the Week of Warcraft over on BlizzPlanet.com, their videos that I do for them. BioWare has announced it is laying off an undisclosed number of employees from their Texas offices. Now, these are the offices that make and run Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's just not doing as well as they had hoped. Now, their subscribership is down 400,000 from when it launched, down to about 1.2 million right now. Need some perspective? Okay, the total number of annual pass holders in World of Warcraft is 1.2 million. The same amount as the total subscribership for Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now, BioWare did say, they did some reconfiguring, tried to offer a lot of those employees other positions in the company. Here's hoping they all land on their feet. But, not that I want anything to come up and like kill another game, but I was hoping for some success for this game. I hope success for any game. I just don't like to see people put out on the streets and put out of their jobs after they make a great quality product like this. So that really, really sucks. Let's finish off with some good news, though. Now, some of you may have heard GameStop has an annual EXPO. They've done this for several years, but it's always just an employees-only kind of thing. This year, it's opening up to the public. That's right. Any of us, well, almost any of us, can get into this shindig. You have to be a PowerUp Rewards member, and then you'll get an invite. Now, it's $35 to get in. It's a one-day event in San Antonio, Texas, on August 29th. Okay, so it's going to be freaking hot. And San Antonio at the end of August. Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm going to be staying inside that event if I go. So $35 to get in, but they will also have a $100 VIP pass option. So that should be, it's not going to be quite E3, but that should be a good chance, sort of late summer, after E3, chance to rub elbows with some developers, get your hands on some games that aren't out yet, that will probably be hitting, of course, in the fall. So that does it with the news. Let's go with a plus-size controller confessional. Now, I was reading very recently, just today, about this book that has come out. It is called The Demise of Guys, Why Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It. Now, this is written by two prominent psychologists. One is named Nikita Duncan, and then the other is Dr. Philip Zimbardo, who is a professor at Stanford University. So these are very, very intelligent people, okay? But here's the thing. Here's what this talks about, okay? It says that basically what's wrong with boys, with men today in the world, and the way that men interact with society is to blame on video games and internet pornography. Okay? Now they say that video games and internet porn, I'm going to directly quote here, so I'll be reading a bit, have created a generation of shy, socially awkward, emotionally removed, and risk-adverse young men who are unable and unwilling to navigate the complexities and risks inherent to real-life relationships, school, and employment. Okay, and they talk a lot about this thing called arousal addiction, which is to say, and not just straight up the dirty kind that you're going straight to, but rather the need for something new, for something novel, that's what people crave, that's what both of these things fulfill. Unlike with, say, gambling addictions, where you're more and more and more of the same thing, this is, an addiction to the new and the novel and the different. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I get some pushback on this. Now, I want to be very clear. These are two very well-educated people. They have PhDs, and I have not read the book yet. I do plan on doing so, and of course, I will come back to you all with more information once I have had a chance to go all the way through it and see what kind of research they've done. But I have some very strong opinions about this already. First off, I think that the blame is too narrow here. They're trying to just blame video games and internet porn, and honestly, I think they should be targeting the internet, the whole thing. Because really, if you think about video game addiction, what we hear about video game addiction, or these horrible things of people spending their entire lives pretty much just playing games, this has come about pretty much since the internet came into these games. I mean, what are people addicted to? Things like StarCraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Madden, these things where they're not just playing by themselves. It's that community. That community is a huge, huge part of that addiction. It's why they do this. But it's much, much bigger than this. It is the rise of the internet as a whole, not even just in video games or just in pornography, but as a whole. And part of this, I think, is because there is a wall of anonymity for the most part on the internet. It allows you to be socially awkward, socially vile, in fact, and really face no true consequences. And, it's when we interact with people, we need to be thinking about their feelings. We don't want to just hurt people's feelings when we talk to them. We need to be subtle. We need to have subtext. We are trying to be kind to people. And a lot of times that goes away on the internet. People hide behind a username and a picture of, a character they love, rather than a picture of themselves. Now, Facebook is an exception to this, It's your real name. It's your real picture. At least it should be. So, you're responsible. You're culpable for the things you say, the things you post. And, you can unfriend people when you realize, that's not the kind of person you want to be around. The internet, for the most part, does away with this. Things that have been considered socially abnormal, socially detrimental, there's a place for these on the internet somewhere. No matter how odd or awkward something is, you can find a group of several hundred people who feel the same way. Now, that's not completely a bad thing. I want to be very clear. I think this is something that, for the individual, is brilliant. It is beneficial, allows everyone to find a place, but it's bad for society as a whole, because people are finding those places on the internet, and then that's it. They stick in those places, that one safe place. And to me, it's sort of akin to, you have very, very overweight people that ride around on scooters and say, well, it's so hard to walk. It's a self-perpetuating problem. If they got up and exercised and lost some weight, it would be easier to walk. So they're not helping their cause. And this is kind of a similar thing, where these people who feel like they're socially awkward, they don't like being in social situations or talking to people, because they're not putting themselves in social situations and learning to talk to people, it perpetuates itself. And a lot of these things that they're talking about, socially awkward, emotionally removed, risk adverse, young men, that's sexist. It's not just men who who are succumbing to this. It's women too. I want to be very clear about that. Society as a whole, there's a paradigm shift in our society because of the internet, and it's not to squarely blame on video games. I'm not going to say they're not going to play a part, but it's also, you know, people who have those addictive personalities. I love video games, but you know what? I love my girlfriend more. I love theater. I love music. I don't get to play video games enough because I have all these other wonderful things in my life, but I'm happy. I find happiness in my life. And I think that's the key, is you can't just say, well, I've got video games and that's all I need. There's a whole wonderful world of amazing things out there to experience, to grab a hold of. And you know, if you become this person where you're a shut-in, the real thing you're affecting, the real people you're affecting, are those people that love you. And you don't want to push them away and ruin relationships because you're so addicted to this one pastime. But nevertheless, I know I have quite the soapbox here, and I had to really focus this down because I felt it was a very important topic. That it's not just video games and internet pornography to blame. It's much bigger than that, but it is something we need to be aware of. And if you have friends that have this problem, it's something you need to try and help them with. But I want to finish with a question. I want to ask you all: do you know people who are like this, where they find these conclaves of people that are like them on the internet, or they just play video games all day, and they're letting life pass by them? I want to know, do you know these people? Are you doing anything to help them? Are there any piece of advice you can give to others who are trying to find a way to help these kinds of friends? Throw those down in the comments. I know it's a very serious topic, but you know what? I think it's important. Throw them down in the comments, and I'll appreciate you a lot. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.